But now let's get to the Cowboys versus the Roosters. Finally, the 1 week where I'm like, nah, they're not turning it around. That's the Cowboys we wanted to see. A bit of ticker, aggression, good in the contact. And guess what? They had their most tackle breaks that they've had in like a month or so. And that's all attitude and aggression. And did they show spades of that? And every play that they got, all the boys running in and cheering and yahooing, and they're all on board. So I don't know what was said during the week. I don't know what has changed. But that's the Cowboys I thought was going to start the season. They were outstanding. They were gritty. They were tough. They played to the conditions. So I don't know whether they already had the idea to do that. But as soon as started pissing down rain, they just immediately went into, we're just going to play field position.
Yep.
And it paid off, and they killed it.
When that storm came in out of nowhere, Todd Payton must have been licking his lips going, yes. This suits us so much more.
Just hand the keys to Chad.
Yeah.
Just win this for us, mate.
But that's what's surprising is, like, I feel like that Roosters pack is such a dog pack that they would embrace that.
It is, but they also love trying to move the ball and throwing it around.
Fantastic win by the Cowboys. Valentine Holmes, great as always. Chad Townsend just steered the ship, gave such a Chad Townsend performance, just steered the ship exactly the way it needed to be, didn't overplay his hand, got field position, built pressure, and then let the boys do the rest. I mean, the outside backs for the Cowboys were phenomenal in regards to meter. 140 for Scotty, 156 for Felt, 169 for Holmes, 118 for Hickew, 134 for Talangi, Dearden, 134. So a lot of their meters came from their backs, and also a lot of their tackle breaks came from their backs as well. Great win, and you can build on this.
Speaking of building on it, Dragons, Tigers, Parramatta, next 3 weeks. 3 very winnable games.
Yep.
Like they can turn this season around very quickly if they want. Take a lot of confidence out of a game that was played in ugly conditions and whatnot. But they go back to North Queensland next week against the Dragons. Round 11 could be the week that we look at and go, okay, the Cowboys are back here. I hope so anyway.
Well, if they have a good month of footy, all of a sudden their season is just gone from an absolute disaster to we're around that 8 position, 8, 9, 10, and pushing for the 8.
Well, they go Dragons, Tigers, Parramatta, Storm, and then they've got a bye in round 15.
So the next month is season defining for them. If they don't pull it out this next month, obviously it's just like they're done for the year. So this win couldn't have come at a better time. What do you think about the Cowboys, Timmy?
So good to see, wasn't it, Fallen? Such a gritty, tough win. They looked decent, put points on a really good defensive outfit in the Roosters. Thought Cohen S had a cracker. Yeah. And I've been critical of Cohen at times, but in a season where they haven't been great and he's had to chop and change between middle and edge and that, I thought he was arguably their best yesterday.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Cotter, we've already spoken about how good he was. Valentine Holmes, far out. He is just so good. He's such an elite outside back. Every big game, he steps up, gets through a mountain of work. Very easy for a superstar like him to be like, you know what? No, you give me good ball. I'm just going to sit out on my edge here. He's like, nah.
He runs so hard.
Oh, mate. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I thought Highland Luke, he missed a couple of tackles, but there was one that he made on Radley. It was a dead set try saver. I thought Radley was going to score for all money, and he's just a genetic. I think you might have said it before, show a genetic freak.
Oh, mate.
He is just
gas tank for days.
If you get a chance, go and watch this tackle again. Radley is through and just about going untouched, and he just wrangles him in and just bodies him.
Yeah, it wasn't even like fell backwards and pulled him short. He grabbed him like almost flat-footed, almost backtracking, and just went nut and turned him the other way and just went bang and sat him on his ass.
Saw Radley play the ball and he just went, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, what just happened? This large gentleman from ragdolled us. So look, really good stuff for the Cowboys. Finally, this is the team that we thought were going to turn up at round 1, and they did for the first half, but just a gritty performance. And that could be the season-defining game. This could be the game where we look back and go, magic round is when the Cowboys went, nah, enough's enough. We are a top-tier side, and we're going to take it to other teams. Now, on to the Roosters. Very hard team to judge, just like the Storm, but for a different reason. Storm obviously have the history of proving everyone wrong. The reason why the Roosters are so hard to judge is because on paper, they're so stacked and so good that if they were to go on a run and win 10 games, absolutely nobody would be surprised. But to this point in the season, they're currently sitting 8th. With the roster that they have, and I know that they've had injuries and I know they have the ins and outs, I'm still not seeing. As I said, they can go on a massive run. Their roster is incredible, but disappointing.
Win, lose, or draw. We've been saying the same thing about the Roosters for 18 months now.
Yeah,
on paper, unbelievable. Just can't put it all together. Who's running the team? Is Manu meant to be a 5'8"? There's just so many question marks around this side, and finally, the two Butcher boys are starting to look really solid there, and it's just as Satili and Angus Crichton return into the side. So there's going to be more change to come.
And Angus played really good.
Yeah, 100%. I want to give a shout out to Billy Smith. Spoke about him last week and just sort of said they love him there. He's the example of, if you do the right thing by us, we'll back you. At centre, 182 run metres. He had 8 tackle breaks. He had 2 line break assists and a line break. And respectfully to Corey Allen, I reckon those stats could have been more if he had a winger with a little bit more toe on that side.
Mate, in your first game back after the amount of injuries he's had, it is nothing short of phenomenal.
And this is why they keep backing him. He is, and I still stand by it, he could be a rep centre within 2 or 3 years if his body just holds together.
Yeah.
I was number 1 in team move Suaalii to left centre. I'm going to have to fall on my sword. I'm not sure if it's working. I think you two might have been right for the first time in podcast existence. I think I'd be moving Suaalii. I mean, obviously it's one game from Billy and I understand that, but I think Suaalii, you're going to get more out of him playing him on the wing. I think I'd have a shot at giving Billy Smith another chance at left centre.
I like Suaalii on the wing.
Yeah.
He gets more opportunity to do the crazy runs out of his own end, meter eater, high ball, cross-field kicks. Yeah, just in centre, you've got to be humming as a team to be able to get him the good ball, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. As well as, who's on Joey Manu's side? Him?
So Joey Manu plays right with Suaalii.
So, if you got Manu at 6, I highly doubt Suaalii is going to see much ball.
Well, he didn't see much ball in this game, yeah.
Yeah, and so I just think, well, you may as well move into wing because at least he can come in and do the work and get the meters kind of thing.
Yeah, you have a look at Billy Smith. He had 17 runs, Suaalii had 6. And I don't think that's because Suaalii's hiding away from the ball. I don't think he doesn't see much of it because we've been saying this about Manu for a long time. He's a great footballer, but it's very Manu-centric.
Yeah. Well, and also, if he was on the wing, he could go in for the carries when coming out of his own end. But as a centre, you can't. You've got to hold your width so the defensive lines don't squeeze up too much, so they don't jam you forwards. And so, I don't think anyone is sitting here saying Suaalii wouldn't want to touch the ball 30 times if he could. I think he should. From the get-go, I always thought he should stay on the wing, as you mentioned. And with Billy Smith back, if his body holds up, so good.
Please hold up.
Oh, please, because what a return. What a return. I just think the Roosters also have put themselves in a very strange position where the Manu situation, it's not like they can bring Walker just straight back in because then it's like, well, what a waste of time. So they've got to stick with Manu at least for, 5 to 6 weeks, would you say?
I think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think Sam Walker played reserve grade on the weekend.
He was 18th man, I think.
He was 18th man. So, I mean, if they gave him...
he wasn't 18th man. He was part of the squad, though. He flew up with them.
Part of the squad, right. So, it's not like he was back in reserve grade this week. Just double-checking that. It's not like he was in... Yeah, he didn't play. It's not like he was back in reserve grade working on what he had to do. Sitting in the stands at Suncorp Stadium. It's a hard one to work out.
I'll be honest. I watched the Roosters on the weekend, and I honestly thought it's the first time I've ever seen a team with too many guns. And I know it sounds stupid, and you know what? It probably is a stupid take. I'm willing to cop that, but that's what I just thought. That's what I thought. There's literally too many guns in this side, and there's not enough, 3 or 4 key players that are lead the team, and this is the direction we go.
But that's where I think if you move Nat and Egan back in the middle, I think they sort of become those guys. I think that was one of their strengths last year, that those two just playing through the middle, whereas you've moved them to the edge because you had to. They've both been pretty impressive the last few weeks.
See, the only thing I think defensively on the edge, they are outstanding. And maybe with more time they can be. I just don't know how devastating they are in attack.
Been, though,
yeah, Egan last 3 weeks has turned it around.
Yeah. In attack, I just don't think they have the same upside as, say, an Angus. But
I agree,
defensively, shit, they're good in regards to their one-on-one tackles. So, as I said, I'm afraid to say that the Roosters aren't premiership threats because their roster is unbelievable. But I just haven't been... it's just not coming together, and we've been saying that for quite a while now.
Yep. To touch on, to round up, everything you boys just said, because you touched on most of my biggest takes from the weekend. I would go, and I feel quite happy to say it, Sully back to the wing. I would go Joey Manu back to centre because I don't think it works at 5'8". I know they won their last two, but they just beat the Dragons, and then they won in bulk conditions in New Zealand. Good win, sure. Joey Manu, he takes Teddy out of it. That the sweeping plays that the Roosters do when they're absolutely humming, and it'll be Keary or Sammy or whoever goes to the line, draws in defenders, and they go whack out the back and get Teddy a bit of space. Now's his turn too. They don't get it. Manu goes to the line every time. He never passes to Teddy because it's not his game. He sort of half looks up and then goes, I don't feel comfortable doing this, and he runs it.
What I find surprising about the Roosters is they go down this route of just guns everywhere. Just gun. And yes, they've always had guns, but the difference was in their back-to-back years, Cooper Cronk was the man, the guy. Everyone did what he said. Trell, he didn't take many carries. Joey Manu didn't take many carries either. And so back then, now obviously he's grown into a player that, demands a lot of carries. It was Cooper Cronk show, Teddy getting through 1,000 runs. And so that's why I'm so surprised that they've moved so far away from that style of footy. And to be fair, in the Roosters' defence, the game has changed dramatically since then. So maybe that is the reason why they've moved away from that. But when you look at their team back in the day, you're looking at Jake Friend, no frills, dummy half. Cooper Cronk, obviously, no frills, 7. One of the best to ever do it, though. Then you've got Mitch Orbison, no frills. Boyd Cordner, no frills. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like now it's more just superstar, frills everywhere.
Can I ask then, we've been talking about this for weeks, months, almost years now. So many players everywhere, so much ability, just can't pull it together. Sam Walker's in reserve grade. At some point, do we have to look at the experienced ball player on this side? Because I feel like Luke Keary, no one ever seems to ask questions about Luke Keary or Luke's role. I feel like if it was any other side or potentially another ball player, we would have said by now, what's the halfback doing? He's the experienced ball player on this side. I feel like no one ever talks about Luke Keary at all.
I think the reason for that is because, last year, they started him at 7, they put Walker to 6. Then they swapped it towards the end of the year. Yep. And they made Walker 7, him 6.
Yep.
And then they started this year, him and Walker as 7 and 6. And so and on top of that, obviously, he had the long-term injury in the head knocks. So he hasn't really had a long period as the main guy, to my understanding. That's why I think he doesn't get questioned. I'd
bring Sammy Walker back in. I'd give the keys to, when there's always this who gets him, who runs the show, I'd give him to Luke Keary, as I said, the experienced bloke. And I'd say, you play central and, run the show. I'd let Sammy Walker do sort of what Cody would do with Adam Reynolds, how he'd swing on the outside, but he was playing as the second receiver, not so much the first receiver. I don't think Sammy has to overplay his hand at the moment, still early on in his career. It's interesting you bring up, when Latrell and Joey Manu at the Roosters, they were 6 to 10 runs a game type centres. Yeah. Now, at any other club, if you have them to at centre, you go, no, boys, we need more involvement in you. You're too good. But you're right, the Roosters have so many stars, they just don't need to be overplaying their hand. And Guru touched on it a few times in recent weeks, sometimes you just need to simplify it and dumb it down a little bit. There's just too much going on. And they keep trying stuff, but I think they need to simplify everything they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, mate. We spoke about this a few weeks ago. I think it was about a month ago, where it's just just bring it all the way back, go back to real boring footy.
No, yeah, I'd be getting Egan Butcher failed his HIA on the weekend, so he will be in doubt for this weekend anyway, and I believe it's maybe a 5-day turnaround. But Angus Crichton starting on the left edge again. He's looked really good.
Yep.
Scored that good late try. Whether you go Nat or Butcher or Satilli on the right edge, I'd probably go Satilli, but Nat has been good. Egan Butcher back into the middle for sure. There's just been a lot of changes, but it's worked for him in the past.
Yeah, I would be having Egan and Nat off the bench, even though it's so unfair to them, especially Nat. Nat has just been just a goer, and I would be Satilli, Angus on the edges. Yeah. I would make sure Satilli's errors and defence is all sorted and all good. Angus, we know how good he is. It's really interesting because on Thurston's debut, he was like, I remember being out there, and I was like, and I'm paraphrasing here, guys. You can go listen to the interview, and I was like wigging like, fuck Darren Lockie, Cam Smith, like what's going on? And he goes, Lockie and Smithy pulled me aside, or he might have said just Lockie, and he pulled me aside, and he said, Thurston, your job is from our try line up to the attacking zone is to lead the team around. When I ask you for the ball, you give it to me every single time. And I think they need to just, they probably already had that conversation, but that's what I may say with the Kiri Walker situation is you go, Kiri gets them to where they need to get to, and then whenever Walker wants the ball, he gets it and does his magic kind of thing. Maybe they need to get that simple.
I just think it's such an interesting situation that, as you said, they started last year with Luke Keary at halfback, got halfway through the year and went, this isn't working, switch them. And seemingly, it looked like the answer.
It looked like it worked, yeah.
Now we're 10 weeks in and they've gone, hold on, Sam Walker's not the guy again.
Yeah.
Drop him back. Luke Keary's back to 7. I don't know. I personally feel like Luke Keary, and I understand what you said, that he hasn't played a lot of consistency and all that, but he's a 31-year-old halfback who's the experienced guy on this team. We constantly sit here, I find it bizarre that we sit here and go, and everyone sits here and goes, they got so many star players, they just can't make it work. The experienced ball player never gets questioned.
Yeah, look, it's fair. It's fair. I think the fact that he's won 3 comps, I guess you don't really want to talk about.
I think that's part of why. But I don't think we've seen anywhere near the best footy over the last 2 or 3 years. And I understand he's been in and out of first grade. I get it, but he's there to win comps.
Yeah, fair. I do also think Sam Walker's situation is bizarre because he grew up as this is the guy.
Yep.
Every team he's in, he is the guy. He's going to win you the match. He's doing everything in the match. Everywhere he wants to get, you do exactly what he says. And I just wonder, and we saw last year when he was put back to 7 and it seemed like the keys had been handed off to him, that they went on that really good run. And yeah, you're right. It feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Now all of a sudden he isn't the guy. And maybe there's more to it. Maybe there's stuff going on that we don't know about. Right. But the Roosters just find themselves in the pickle. As I said, stupidest take in the history of rugby league, but do they have too many guns?
I don't think it's that dumb.
Do they have too many guns? I don't know. But not panic stations, still in the 8. We all know they absolutely, put it this way, if they came out next week and they win every single game all the way to the grand final, that wouldn't shock me one little bit. That's how good their squad is. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I guess the concern is that every year since they're back-to-back, we've at least for the last 18 months or so, we've kind of been like, I just don't know whether what's going where with the clicking and everything. Anyway,